Okay, let's come back to this question here. As far as the question concerned, you are supposed to sketch the quadratic function giving the y-intercept and also the minimum point or the maximum point, the coordinate of the maximum or minimum point. Okay, uh, you will not required beside the 2 point to require to put in additional information. But what teacher going to show you now, you can actually put in more information into the sketch curve so that it will give you a better visibility of the sketch curve. Okay, now beside the highest point and the minimum point and also the y-intercept, you actually can find the x-intercept. Okay, finding the x-intercept is useful. Why? Because in the later part of the chapter, you will need this piece of information for you to answer the question. Okay, now to find the x-intercept, what is the first thing? Uh, uh, x-intercept happen when y coordinate is equal to 0. In this case, for example, here and here, there is the two x-intercept. At this point, the y value is the y coordinate is equal to 0. Okay, so to find the both the x-intercept, let's put y equal to 0. Okay, now, so when we put when we put y equal to 0, whatever x value that you obtain from the simply solving the equation, the x value will actually be the x-intercept. Okay, now let's bring the phi over here. We square root the phi. We end up plus minus square root phi, so is x plus 1. So x becomes minus 1 plus minus square root phi. Okay, in other words, the first x value is, let's say this is the more negative value, so it should be minus 1 minus square root phi. Minus 1 minus square root phi. Okay, then that will be the value at this point. Okay, but in this case, it doesn't ask you to find the x-intercept, but teacher just show you. So the x1 value actually is point. Okay, so you actually can write this point as minus 1 minus square root phi. But normally, if you are asked to find intercept, normally it's not in this form. It's just it will give you a whole number. If not, it's a mixed number. They mean have a fraction, but that's okay. But normally it's not this with a cert inside. Okay. But this case, teacher just let you understand the significance of the two x-intercept and how do you obtain it by putting y equal to 0. Okay. Now, so your x2 is minus 1 plus square root phi. This is some bigger value, so it has to be here. Okay, that means it's minus 1 plus square root phi. Okay, that minus 1 plus square root phi. Now, once you have both the x-intercept, you can see clearly your graph becomes even more informative. Okay, your graph become more informative. The second thing is by knowing the x-intercept, okay, you the curvature of your curve is actually determined. What do you mean by that? Okay, let teacher explain now. Okay, now let's say this is your maximum point. Okay, let's say this is your x-intercept, x1. Let's say this is your x2. Okay, so when you sketch the curve, So you get the curvature. Now, for example, if I have another case, let's say this is your maximum point. Let's say your x-intercept is here, x1 is here, the x2 is here. Now, remember the curve must pass through the maximum point and the x-intercept. So if you sketch this, okay, you notice that your curvature has become smaller. That means it becomes steeper. Okay, so do you see the contribution of the x-intercept in determine the curvature of the quadratic curve? Okay, right? So if you have if your x1 and x2 is much further like this case, then the curvature become the radius of this curvature increases, less curvy. But if the x1 x2 is closer, so you sketch it become more, the curvature becomes greater. Okay, so that's one significance of the x1 x2. Now let's look at this. Let's find the x-intercept. Teacher draw this because this is the correct curve. This is wrong. Okay. Now similarly, when y equal to 0, move this to the left hand side. Okay. Now you have a square here. Let's say it's square root 1, which end up a plus minus. So x plus 3 equal to plus minus 1. Okay. Now let's take the smallest value, x1. x1 is smaller value would be taking the I have to move the x, so it become minus 3 plus minus square root 1. So the x1 will be minus 3 minus square root 1. So this point here become x1, which is minus 3 minus square root 1. Okay. Now your x2 point, the second x-intercept will be minus 3, taking the positive one, which is the bigger number. So here become a x2, which is equal to minus 3 plus square root 1. Now square root 1 is still 1, so it's minus 3 plus 1, which gives you minus 2. So this point here is actually minus 2. Now this one is actually minus 3 minus 1 become minus 4. So this point actually is minus 4. Okay. Now again this one, let's make y equal to 0, 9 minus 2x minus 1 squared. Okay, bring it to this side is 2x minus 1 squared become 9. So 2x minus 1 become plus minus square root 9, which gives you plus minus 3. Okay, then further 2x, bring the 1 over there, become plus minus 3 plus 1. Okay, this bring over plus 1. So it's 2x equal to first case. Here what we can do is we got the case of x equal to plus minus 3 plus 1 over 2. Okay, therefore x1, take the negative value first, the minus 3